What's up, Dice Crew? Keeping it a Benji, and I'm getting back with y'all. Now we got Hassan Campbell sitting down with Adam 22, and he breaking down and explaining why he chose to record Wack conversation pertaining to Nipsey Hussle and so on. So let's tune in and see what all that's about. I'm gonna keep it a Benji for y'all doing my reaction. Y'all keep it a Benji for me in the comments. Shout out to the Dice Crew and shout out to the sponsors. Y'all are down bullies. I'm gonna have a link in the description so y'all can tune in with them. Let's rock.
I mean, I didn't take what Wack did or what he was saying personal because me and Wack spoke before we actually got on air, and he wasn't disrespectful. The things that he said after the podcast when we was away from each other was more disrespectful than what he said when we was face to face. When we was together, it was all fun. It was laughs and jokes and behind the scenes. I actually had a good time. I felt actually during that time when we was together, it was a good feeling there.
Did you feel like that was fake? Like he was playing a character for social media to get a reaction?
Nah, when we was together, honestly speaking, I thought that the chemistry between all of us was dope. I thought the interview was dope. I thought his personality was dope, but it just went left the next day.
Okay, yeah. But you're referring to the phone call that you guys had where you were... Oh, no. So you're referring to like shit
Clubhouse.
that he said on Clubhouse after the fact
Clubhouse,
about the Bambaataa shit and all that. What was it in particular that he said that rubbed you the wrong way on the phone call?
Something about me sucking Bam's dick. I said, like, he got disrespectful. He got crazy disrespectful. And see, my whole thing is that there's a line that I don't cross, that I don't play with people. I don't give a fuck who you is. And to hear him say some of the things that he said, it was like, wow. You know what I mean? He got like real crazy for Clubhouse.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I didn't understand that because I was planning on flying out to LA and everything dealing with Wack.
Right. And so then after that, you guys end up getting on the phone, and that's when he ends up kind of divulging the secret Nipsey tape information to you?
No, before that.
So that was before the interview and the Clubhouse shit, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was before that.
So he had already told you about that, and then you had ended up recording it. What made you want to record that in the first place?
Because when Wack, like a lot of things that he said, that he spoke about, like me, like for example, I'll give you an example. Where he broke down how he set up De La Hoya. And he extorted him out of $800,000. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And he was behind the pictures all over the internet of De La Hoya with the fishnet outfit on, looking real fruity. And you know what I mean? I started to realize, like, listening to him and him talking about the tapes that he had on Nipsey and Nipsey being gay. And I'm like, yo, this nigga got a lot of tapes. That's not normal. Having tapes on people is not normal.
Right, it's a strange pastime.
I don't have tapes on nobody.
Right.
The only tape I ever had, I recorded two people. I recorded Wack, and I recorded one conversation that I had with MAINO, just so he couldn't tell niggas he was just talking to me any old kind of way, because I try to make niggas understand I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm not scared of nobody.
So where's things at with MAINO at this point? I might have missed that one.
I mean, listen, I want people to understand something. Don't take it personal, but take it personal if you choose to. When it comes to hip hop, when I see certain things that's happening, or certain characteristics of some of these rappers, that's senior citizen rappers, that's what I call them. You're a senior citizen. These niggas raise their children in the best of ways, but they send a message that send our kids to the penitentiary. I'm not with it.
Right. Yeah, no, there's a huge amount of dissonance. I see that all the time in terms of like how dudes who have connections to the street or whatever will treat, the young dudes from their block versus the way that they want to raise their kids. And sometimes it's kind of shocking to me that people are able to sort of live both of these realities at the same time. And if anything, like having kids is...
Now, I totally get what Hassan Campbell is saying pertaining to that direct issue, but I feel like, you got those individuals that's a part of the lifestyle, and then you got those individuals that's not a part of that lifestyle. You can only guide a person to your best ability off what they can be into. Like, say, if it's your kids or, your nephews, cousins, little brothers, whoever, then you might have more of a accessible path that you can take to make sure they stay out of certain situations. But then when you run across some of these young boys and they out in the streets already, all you can do is really give them the game to try to survive in that game that they are in. You know what I mean? Because some people, it ain't no going home anyway. You know what I mean? The mom is all twisted or the dad is all twisted. So they out in the world. So you got to give them the advice that you need to give them to help them survive in their reality. Now, if it is your kids, you got the right to, and you got better, you got way more possibilities to be able to make sure they don't dive into the streets at all. Now, I understand it's also entertainment. So what a person put out in the world to make their money or make their profit or to do their so-called job, that's just what they gonna do. But also these kids is only being misguided and directed wrong because they don't have no parents anyway. You know what I mean? We can't always just blame the second or third thing that's teaching when it's the first thing that we gotta start holding accountable. You know, the first thing that's there is the parents. Then after that, it might be other relatives. Then it might, be music, athletes, whatever.
Really, it pushes me in the direction constantly of having to kind of second guess everything I'm doing and wonder, like, is this, is this the world that I want my kid to enter into?
Right. And, children in the hood don't know the difference. When you make it out of the hood, it's sort of like going to North Carolina, South Carolina, you in the suburbs. And you like, wow, I see nice gardens, I see nice trees. And then you get back to the hood, you ducking shootouts. So the kids in the hood, they think this shit is normal.
And I also want to chime in and say this, right? A lot of these dudes, especially when they get older or when they start reaching certain levels of success, they're not actually making music and stuff like that pertaining to their day-to-day lifestyles. They are telling stories of their history, talking about past situations. So we got to also know how to break that down and separate the two. You got people that's making current music, and some people that's always still got they pen and they pad is stuck 10 years ago, 15, 20, whatever it may be. So we got to know the difference from a person telling these stories as opposed of a person giving you today's day-to-day base what they going through in their life right now. And I'm sure if you tune in with them enough, you will be able to catch the real reality of what they doing every day. Whether they, dealing with their families, running a company, running a business, doing promotion runs, doing whatever they might be doing. But you just can't take one part that they put out there and think that's all they putting out there. You know what I mean?
You have these celebrities like a MAINO, like a Jim Jones, and it's not that I hate these brothers. It's that I want them to understand the power of the influence. As a rapper, we didn't get a chance to see Rakim and experience Rakim at this age in hip hop. They faded out. We didn't get a chance to see LL, somebody that based his whole journey on just dope lyrics and I need love and dedicated to the woman. You got these grown dudes, they grown men that know in their minds and their hearts, I don't never want to go back to jail.
Right.
But that's not the message that you're putting out. You know you don't want to go to jail.
Right.
And if one of them do.
Now, I understand what Hassan Campbell is pointing out. However, it's people that's sitting in the streets, in the lifestyle, entrenched on the block, in the gang life, whatever, that still don't want to go to jail. You know what I mean? Just because you out there doing what you might be doing, that don't mean you just necessarily want to go to jail. Because if somebody wanted to go to jail, you would never have a high-speed chase. You would never have a foot chase. People try to get away from getting arrested is the best way they can. And some, the most honorable way that they can. And other people with no honor, they'll just do anything to make sure they don't have to sit in no cage.
Was to find out that one of their friends gave their sons a gun. They be ready to kill them.
Right.
But lyrically, you giving our children a gun in a hood.
Yeah. It's like an understanding that all rappers get to at a certain point, though, that nobody wants to hear you talk about some sensitive shit, some emotional shit that, like, especially if you're a Jim Jones, you got to this point by rapping about street shit. your fan base would probably largely abandon you if you were to go in an entirely different direction. And we haven't really seen an example. We see younger rappers who are able to come out and their lyrical content doesn't concern any of that stuff. But if you solidified yourself as that kind of rapper, it's very hard for you to pivot out of it. I don't know.
I definitely get what Adam is saying, and I think he actually has a good point. Because, if they stop going down the right path and keeping up with the same momentum that they've been putting out there, then it could be a strong chance that if they lose their audience, then they'll go broke and they'll end up having to actually be somewhere ducking the cops. You know what I mean? If y'all get my drift. But Adam definitely got a point right there.
We've really seen an example of it.
Well, I mean, Jim Jones' music is dope. Let me say that.
Yeah.
The nigga music is dope. I don't know who's writing this shit, but what I do know is that some of the stuff that I listen to, I like. And it's not so much of the music with Jim Jones. It is, but it isn't. What it is it's just the message. Like, for example, when you call yourself a lobby boy, nigga, you corporate right now. That niggas is millionaires. Show the young boys how to transition into the corporations, into businessmen, instead of showing them how to go into the penitentiary, because it's either the penitentiary or early grave with the energy. Words are spells,
right?
And your lyrics and your actions, your cat.
And even though I do understand what Hassan Campbell is like, what he's saying, it's still not everybody's responsibility. You know what I mean? Like, whatever truth MAINO and other individuals want to live, let them live their truth. We can't want people, we can't force people to be who we want them to be at the end of the day. And, he might be doing things that can save another person, or he might be putting out stuff that can hurt the next person. But overall, it's just not MAINO or anybody else's job to save everyone. That's just something that we got to start knowing. We can't just put that responsibility on everybody. It's so many other individuals that a kid should be able to look up to and get the right knowledge from before they ever got to get some type of real influence from a MAINO or anybody else like MAINO. Now, I understand it will be people that look up to rappers, celebrities, other people in the streets, and that just to be the case. But overall, we just got to be mindful and know that even like Hassan Campbell, some people will say that his approach ain't necessarily positive or teaching the youth the right things. Just because you attack a lot of other individuals, which you feel like what they doing is wrong, that don't necessarily mean your approach is absolutely right neither. But it's also not Hassan Campbell's position or responsibility to save everybody. Sometimes you just got to be thankful and be grateful and be able to know that you can only save who you can save. So if you can save 1, 2, 3, few, 100, 1,000,000, then hey, that's cool. But that's always just the objective at the end of the day, to just save as many as you can, because you will never be able to save all.
The spells on these children. Let them know. Hip-hop should come with a warning label. Warning, warning, warning. If you listen to this bullshit that's coming out of my mouth, you're going to fuck your life up.
Right. And I mean, there's an additional layer.
And if you really look at it, right, Hassan Campbell's whole campaign is pretty big based upon attacking certain rappers and stuff like that. Like he say, the elders in hip-hop, to sit in whatever he was calling them, right? But if all these rappers wasn't doing what they was doing, would Hassan Campbell have the success with his platform the way he do? Because he probably wouldn't have nothing to bounce his whole campaign off of. He would never have nothing to speak against. He would never have nothing to launch a campaign against. It would just be how it would be. So a lot of people do succeed even with the things that they are against. You know what I'm saying? Because if he got on there every day and just cheerleaded or praised MAINO and other rappers because they was doing just everything that he's wishing they was about, I don't think his platform would be that big. You know what I'm saying? So we got to always look at it for what it is. Because Hassan Campbell can also take his platform and get on there every day and take a softer approach. And he can also, get on there and just be, overall like a pastor type dude or something like that, if y'all get what I'm saying. He don't have to be on there with the whole, turn the TV off, get your snot box rods. He be on all that type of stuff. He be saying disrespectful things, offensive things, but to him, he call it keeping it raw and uncut, which is he got the entitled, he can do that, that's him. He want to do it however you want to do it. But I'm just saying, people out here trying to succeed at the end of the day, and we can't get caught up in what everybody else got going on in their lifestyles. We just got to really know that we can only really control our own lifestyles.
Of like pressure within hip hop for you to have not spoken out the way that you have about big things like the Bombada thing, or even like a little thing like you being a little critical of Jim Jones, because we all recognize that in a lot of ways, it's not that hip hop is a dying art form, but traditional classic hip hop quite often doesn't get the respect that it deserves, especially the older generation and stuff. So like, I think that that's an additional layer of why people were so shocked to see you kind of come out and be so critical of Bombada, regardless of his actions, is just because we all sort of have this understanding that it's important for us to like hoist our hip hop elder statesmen up, because the mainstream media is not going to do it. A huge percentage of the hip hop media platforms are primarily concerned with talking about the young kids and shit like that, and that must have been part of the difficulty with you coming forward about all that shit as well, right?
The most difficult part of that period is just admitting that I was touched by men. I'm a soldier. If you gay, that's not a problem. It's like, okay, but when you're not gay, that's like, nah. And then to have everybody sit up there and say, well, you are gay because you was around this man for so many years and we found a picture. No, you didn't find a picture. The pictures that they have with me and Africa Bambaataa on the internet is the ones that I used to prove that I knew this man. But behind some of these other platforms that like to get content, they'll grab a picture and say, well, I caught this, and he was sleeping with Bam, and this is Bam's lover. No, I was raised by the man.
Man, it's crazy to me because absolutely nobody would use that same logic with a woman who was raped or molested when she was young. But at the same, you were young. You were essentially a child coming into this arrangement, or like being introduced to this world. It's like you were essentially powerless compared to all this shit that was around you, right?